Have you ever looked in the mirror, noticed a few strands of gray hair, and wondered, is this just aging, or is my body trying to tell me something? Most people believe gray hair is simply genetics or getting older, and yes, genetics does play a role. But here's what most people never hear. Your hair doesn't turn gray because your body suddenly decides to age overnight. Gray hair appears when your hair follicles stop producing melanin, the pigment that gives your hair its color, and that change inside the follicle is deeply connected to nutrition, oxidative stress, and metabolic health. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every hair follicle contains specialized cells called melanocytes. These cells produce melanin using nutrients like copper, iron, vitamin B12, and antioxidants. When those nutrients drop, or when oxidative stress builds up in the body, those pigment cells start shutting down. And something fascinating happens inside the follicle. A compound called hydrogen peroxide begins accumulating in the hair shaft, essentially bleaching your hair from the inside out. Normally, your body neutralizes this with an enzyme called catalase. But as oxidative stress increases and nutrient status declines, catalase levels fall. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a factory that produces ink. Melanocytes are the factory workers. Nutrients like copper and B vitamins are the raw materials. Antioxidants are the maintenance team keeping the machines clean. If the factory loses workers, runs out of materials, or the machines get damaged by oxidation, the ink production slows down. And when that happens in your hair follicle, the new hair grows in gray or white. Now here's the encouraging part. While completely reversing genetically programmed gray hair isn't always possible, research shows that nutritional deficiencies, oxidative stress, and metabolic dysfunction can accelerate premature graying, and improving these factors may help slow or sometimes partially restore pigment in early stages. This means the foods you eat every day can influence the biochemistry inside your hair follicles, not through magic, but through nutrient pathways, enzyme activity, and cellular repair. In today's video, I'm going to break down 5 powerful foods that support the biological systems responsible for hair pigmentation. These foods help support melanin production, reduce oxidative stress in hair follicles, restore key nutrient deficiencies linked to premature graying, protect melanocyte stem cells, improve scalp circulation and metabolic health, and most importantly, I'll show you exactly how to use these foods in your daily routine, timing, combinations, and simple protocols. Because when you understand the physiology, you stop chasing cosmetic solutions and you start fixing the root cause. If you're interested in learning how nutrition, metabolism, and lifestyle influence aging, including hair, skin, and energy, consider subscribing. I post videos every day breaking down the science of natural health optimization. Now let's start with the first and most overlooked nutrient for hair pigment, a mineral that directly activates the enzyme responsible for making melanin. Let's start with one of the most overlooked nutrients for hair pigmentation, copper. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Hair color is produced through a process called melanogenesis, where your hair follicles create melanin, the pigment that gives hair its natural color. But this process doesn't just happen automatically. It depends on a key enzyme called tyrosinase. And here's the important part. Tyrosinase cannot function properly without copper. Think of copper like the ignition key in a car. The engine might be perfectly built, the fuel might be present, but without the key, the system simply doesn't start. In the same way, without copper, the enzyme that creates melanin stays inactive. As a result, pigment production slows down and new hair starts growing in gray or white. Now here's where modern diets become a problem. Many people today consume far less copper than previous generations. Highly processed foods, refined grains, and nutrient-poor diets often lack the trace minerals needed for proper enzyme activity. And interestingly, excessive zinc supplementation, which has become very popular, can actually interfere with copper absorption. Over time, this imbalance can quietly reduce melanin production inside hair follicles. What the research shows is that trace mineral deficiencies, particularly copper, have been linked to premature hair graying and impaired pigment production. So the question becomes, how do we restore it naturally? One of the best foods for this is beef liver. Yes, liver. It may not be trendy, but from a nutritional perspective, it's one of the most powerful foods on the planet. Just a small portion of liver contains significant amounts of copper, along with vitamin A, iron, and B vitamins, all nutrients that support hair follicle metabolism. If liver isn't something you enjoy eating regularly, other excellent sources include dark chocolate, cashews, sunflower seeds, and sesame seeds. These foods naturally provide copper in a highly absorbable form. Here's a simple protocol you can try. 2 to 3 times per week include copper-rich foods in your meals. For example, a small portion of liver once a week, a handful of cashews or sunflower seeds as a snack, or a square of high-quality dark chocolate after dinner. Small changes like this gradually restore the mineral environment needed for proper pigment production, but copper alone isn't enough. Because even if your body has the right minerals, melanocytes, the pigment-producing cells in your follicles, are still extremely vulnerable to something else, oxidative stress. And this is where the second food becomes incredibly important, because it helps neutralize the chemical process that literally bleaches your hair from the inside out. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing to the channel. I share videos every day breaking down the science of metabolism, nutrition, and natural anti-aging strategies. Now let's talk about the second major cause of gray hair: oxidative stress inside the hair follicle. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your cells naturally produce energy every second of the day, but during this process, small unstable molecules called free radicals are also created. In small amounts, this is normal, but when your body experiences chronic stress, poor nutrition, inflammation, or metabolic dysfunction, these free radicals begin to accumulate, and hair follicles are especially vulnerable to this damage. One of the most fascinating discoveries in hair aging research is that gray hair is strongly linked to the buildup of hydrogen peroxide inside the hair shaft. Yes, the same chemical compound used in hair bleaching products. Normally, your body produces enzymes like catalase that break down hydrogen peroxide into harmless molecules like water and oxygen. But as oxidative stress increases and antioxidant defenses weaken, hydrogen peroxide begins to accumulate in the follicle. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your hair follicle as a small factory producing pigment. Over time, toxic waste begins building up inside that factory. If the cleanup crew stops working efficiently, the waste piles up and damages the machinery. In this case, the machinery is the melanocyte, the pigment-producing cell. When oxidative damage overwhelms these cells, they stop producing melanin. And when melanin production stops, the hair grows out gray. This is where antioxidant-rich foods become incredibly important. One of the best foods for protecting melanocytes from oxidative stress is berries, particularly blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries. These fruits are loaded with powerful compounds called polyphenols and anthocyanins. These antioxidants act like the cleanup crew for oxidative stress, helping neutralize free radicals before they damage delicate cells like melanocytes. Research in nutritional science consistently shows that diets high in polyphenol-rich foods support cellular protection, reduced oxidative damage, and healthier aging processes. But the benefit goes even deeper. Berries also help support mitochondrial health, the tiny energy factories inside your cells. Healthy mitochondria produce less oxidative waste and maintain better cellular function throughout the body, including in hair follicles. Now here's a practical way to use this. Try incorporating 1 serving of antioxidant-rich berries daily. For example, add blueberries to a morning yogurt or protein smoothie, include strawberries with breakfast, or mix berries into a bowl of nuts and seeds as an afternoon snack. Consistency matters more than quantity. Over time, these antioxidants help strengthen your body's natural defense systems against oxidative damage. But there's another critical factor involved in hair pigmentation that most people overlook entirely, and that's vitamin B12 and cellular energy metabolism. Because if your body lacks the vitamins needed for healthy cell division, your hair follicles simply cannot maintain pigment-producing cells. Now let's move to the third biological factor behind premature gray hair, vitamin B deficiencies, especially vitamin B12 and biotin. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your hair follicles are among the fastest growing tissues in the entire body. Hair cells divide rapidly, constantly producing new strands. And whenever cells divide quickly, they require a massive amount of B vitamins. In particular, vitamin B12, biotin, vitamin B7, folate, vitamin B9. These vitamins support DNA synthesis, cellular repair, and red blood cell production, all processes required for maintaining healthy melanocytes inside hair follicles. When these nutrients drop, something subtle but important happens. The stem cells responsible for creating new pigment-producing melanocytes start functioning poorly. Over time, the follicle begins producing hair with less pigment, eventually leading to gray or white strands. In fact, several clinical observations have shown that vitamin B12 deficiency is strongly associated with premature hair graying, particularly in younger adults. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your hair follicle as a construction site building new hair fibers. B vitamins are the electricity powering the machinery. Without electricity, the construction tools stop working. The workers may still be there, but progress slows dramatically. In the same way, without enough B vitamins, hair follicle cells lose their ability to maintain normal growth and pigment production. This is where one simple food becomes incredibly powerful. Eggs. Eggs are one of the most nutritionally complete foods available. They contain biotin, vitamin B12, folate, high-quality protein, and essential amino acids, all required for healthy hair follicle metabolism. But there's another fascinating aspect to eggs. Hair pigment production depends on an amino acid called tyrosine. Tyrosine acts as the raw material used to build melanin pigment. Eggs provide the protein building blocks necessary for this process. In other words, eggs provide both the construction materials and the metabolic energy needed to maintain hair pigmentation. Now here's a simple protocol. Try including 1 to 2 eggs daily, ideally with breakfast. Not only do they support hair follicle health, but they also stabilize blood sugar and improve satiety, which helps regulate hormones like insulin and cortisol. Stable metabolic hormones reduce oxidative stress and support overall cellular health. And remember, hair health always reflects internal metabolic health. If your metabolism is stable and your nutrient intake is adequate, hair follicles receive the signals and resources they need to function properly. But there's still another major factor we haven't discussed yet. Even if your body has the right nutrients, those nutrients still have to reach the hair follicles through circulation, and poor blood flow to the scalp can quietly starve follicles of the oxygen and nutrients needed for pigment production. Now let's talk about a factor that most people rarely connect with gray hair, circulation, and oxygen delivery to the hair follicle. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every hair follicle sits at the end of a tiny network of blood vessels called capillaries. These microscopic vessels deliver oxygen, minerals, amino acids, and vitamins directly to the follicle. Without that delivery system, the follicle simply cannot maintain normal growth or pigment production. Think of it like a garden. Even if the soil contains nutrients, the plants still need water flow through irrigation lines to absorb those nutrients. If the irrigation stops, the plants weaken and eventually they stop producing healthy leaves. The same thing happens inside your scalp. Hair follicles are extremely metabolically active, which means they require a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients through the bloodstream. One of the most important nutrients for this process is iron. Iron is a critical component of hemoglobin, the molecule in red blood cells responsible for transporting oxygen throughout the body. If iron levels are low, oxygen delivery decreases. And when hair follicles receive less oxygen, the energy production inside those cells slows down, including the energy required for melanin synthesis. Research has repeatedly shown that iron deficiency is associated with hair problems, including hair thinning and premature graying in some individuals. But iron rarely works alone. It works closely with another key nutrient, folate. Folate helps produce healthy red blood cells and supports proper circulation. It also plays a role in DNA repair and cell turnover, which are essential for maintaining melanocyte activity inside the follicle. This is where one incredibly powerful food comes in: spinach. Spinach is rich in iron, folate, magnesium, vitamin C, and plant antioxidants, all of which support circulation and cellular metabolism. The vitamin C in leafy greens also helps improve iron absorption, making the mineral more bioavailable to your body. But spinach also supports hair health in another interesting way. It contains nitrates, natural compounds that help improve blood vessel function and promote better circulation. Better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients reaching the hair follicle, which helps maintain healthy cellular activity, including pigment production. Now, here's a practical way to incorporate this. Try adding a serving of leafy greens daily. For example, a spinach omelet at breakfast, a leafy green salad with lunch, or sautéed spinach alongside dinner. Even adding a handful of spinach into a smoothie can make a meaningful difference over time. Small habits like this gradually improve the nutrient delivery system feeding your hair follicles. But we still haven't discussed one of the most important biological systems involved in maintaining hair color, and that's the protection of melanocyte stem cells. Because once those stem cells become depleted, hair follicles permanently lose their ability to produce pigment. And the final food we're about to discuss plays a powerful role in protecting these cells from inflammation and oxidative damage. If this video has been helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post daily content breaking down the science of metabolism, aging, and natural health strategies you can apply immediately. Now let's talk about the fifth and final food, one that supports something incredibly important for maintaining natural hair color, the protection of melanocyte stem cells. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Inside every hair follicle is a small reservoir of stem cells. These cells act like a regeneration system. Their job is to continuously produce new melanocytes, the cells responsible for creating melanin pigment. As long as these stem cells remain healthy, your hair follicles can keep producing pigmented hair, but when these stem cells become damaged, usually due to chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, or metabolic dysfunction, the follicle slowly loses its ability to generate new pigment-producing cells. And once that reserve is depleted, the follicle permanently produces gray or white hair. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of melanocyte stem cells as a backup battery. As long as the battery is healthy, the system keeps running smoothly. But if the battery becomes damaged or drained, the system shuts down. In the same way, protecting these stem cells is one of the most important strategies for maintaining hair pigmentation over time. One of the biggest threats to these cells is chronic inflammation. Modern diets high in processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats create a pro-inflammatory environment in the body. This inflammation damages delicate stem cells and accelerates aging processes throughout the body, including inside hair follicles. This is where walnuts become incredibly valuable. Walnuts are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly a plant-based omega-3 called alpha-linolenic acid, ALA. Omega-3 fats are known for their anti-inflammatory properties, helping regulate inflammatory signaling pathways in the body. Reducing chronic inflammation helps protect sensitive stem cells, including those responsible for regenerating melanocytes in the hair follicle. But walnuts provide another powerful benefit. They are also rich in polyphenols and vitamin E, which function as antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative damage. Together, these nutrients create a protective environment that supports cellular repair, healthy aging, and tissue regeneration. There's even evidence that diets rich in omega-3 fatty acids support skin and hair follicle health, partly by improving blood flow and reducing inflammatory stress on tissues. Now here's a simple protocol. Add a small handful of walnuts daily, about 20-30 grams. You can include them with breakfast oatmeal or yogurt, in salads during lunch, or as an afternoon snack. Consistency matters far more than quantity. Over time, these healthy fats help stabilize inflammation and support the cellular environment required for healthy hair follicles. And remember, gray hair is rarely about one single nutrient. It's usually the result of multiple biological systems slowly becoming imbalanced. Melanin production, antioxidant defense, vitamin status, circulation, stem cell protection. When you begin supporting all of these systems together, your body has a much better chance of maintaining healthy pigmentation for longer. Let's bring everything together. Today, we explored 5 critical biological systems that determine whether your hair retains its natural color, and the 5 foods that support them. We started with copper, the mineral that activates the enzyme responsible for melanin production. Without it, your hair follicles' color factory simply cannot operate efficiently. Then we looked at antioxidant-rich berries, which protect hair pigment cells from oxidative damage, including the hydrogen peroxide that naturally accumulates in hair and can bleach it from the inside out. Next, we focused on eggs, a powerhouse of B vitamins and amino acids that fuel the hair follicle's rapid cellular turnover and provide the raw material for melanin synthesis. We followed that with spinach, loaded with iron, folate, and nitrates to ensure blood flow, oxygen delivery, and nutrient transport to the follicles. Because even if your body has the right nutrients, your hair won't benefit if they don't reach the follicle. Finally, we covered walnuts, rich in omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants, which protect melanocyte stem cells from inflammation and oxidative stress, supporting the follicle's ability to regenerate pigment-producing cells over time. Here's the key takeaway. Gray hair isn't just a cosmetic problem, it's a window into your metabolic and cellular health. It reflects nutrient deficiencies, oxidative stress, poor circulation, and chronic inflammation. And the good news is, by supporting these 5 systems, you can give your hair follicles the tools they need to maintain or even restore pigment, naturally, safely, and sustainably. Practical steps you can implement today include copper-rich foods like liver, cashews, or sesame seeds a few times per week. Eat berries daily to protect follicles from oxidative stress. Incorporate eggs regularly to provide B vitamins and tyrosine. Add spinach or leafy greens to improve circulation and iron delivery. Snack on walnuts to reduce inflammation and protect stem cells. These are simple, actionable changes that don't require supplements, dyes, or complicated routines. Just real food and a strategic approach to your metabolism and cellular health. So here's your challenge. Pick just one of these changes today and observe how your body responds over the next few weeks. Even small, consistent adjustments can make a meaningful difference over time. If this content added value, like the video, and subscribe to join others who are optimizing their health naturally, one step at a time. Remember, when you address the root causes, not just the symptoms, you're not just changing your hair. You're improving energy, metabolism, longevity, and overall resilience. Your hair is a reflection of your inner health, and with the right nutrients, circulation, and cellular protection, you can give it the support it deserves.